So but I have things about him on my I mean something before that time. Okay. So, Dr. Hungwe, are you there? You are muted. Can you see what you do? Yeah. So I want to start sharing the screen so you can have the floor. So all right, so let's our mouths be talking with the food, and then our ears do the listening. Right? Challenge. All right. My friend. Okay. Hello. What? I think she can hear. What's wrong with this? Okay, no problem. Yeah, okay, so it's 7 o'clock. So our first speaker was the position yourself beyond the gap. Position yourself beyond the gap. In the other world is Dr. Tsitsi. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Dr. Tsitsi Hungwe, all right, or Hungwe. So I will just say a little about what you have so it will help us to answer. So she is an alumni of which one is the plural? Alumni. So she's an alumni of MichiganTech University. She read chemistry, biochemistry, molecular biology, from 2008 to 2012. She had a doctorate degree of dental medicine at the University of UK School of Dentistry. She presently works as a life coach and a motivational speaker, and then she runs an organization too. And I think she presently lives at Greater Minneapolis. So it's our pleasure to welcome Dr. Hungwe, and thank you for accepting to talk to us. So one thing I didn't mention to those who came later is that she once occupied the role of the president of ASO. Am I correct? Yeah, you are muted, please.
I said, oh, yes, you are correct.
Okay,
20.
So it's our pleasure to have her join us for free at this time. So you have the floor, and we will be excited to learn from your experience. Over to you.
Okay, great. Well, I'm very, very excited just to see you all. It's actually 10 years since I graduated, but I'm still young. So yeah, I was at MichiganTech 2008 until 2012. So a lot has changed, obviously, but I do like that you know, ASO is still thriving. So I just want to really commend you all for continuing to move through the mission that we had for ASO from the time that it was founded, and just continuing to bring together people of different countries. I heard we have someone from Chad. Is there someone from Chad? Oh, we have like 3. Oh, we have so many. Oh, okay. You're muted. Did you say something?
Yes, I said we have only one Chadian, but all of them have adopted themselves as Chadians now.
Oh, okay. That's I like that, because you know, I feel like when I was at Tech, there was a lot of Nigerians, although I still seen some, but you know, you kind of needed to be adopted in order to fit in. So I like seeing the mixture. So for today, we have this topic about positioning yourself beyond the gown. So I didn't really want it to be more of like me kind of just lecturing, you know, that's not really the point of this. I think it's to find out what questions you all have in particular, and then I can always share a little bit about my background as well, as far as professionally. But before we kind of proceed a little bit more, so I wanted to find out, are most of the people who are in the room today, are you all engineers?
Okay, talk. Okay, maybe you just tell where you are from.
Just quickly, where are you from? I mean, which part are you studying?
Okay, I'm Kaja from Chad, and I'm physics department.
Okay. Maths?
Geospatial engineering.
An engineer, yeah?
An engineer.
Okay.
Humanities.
Engineering. Yeah. Engineering. Engineering?
Engineering. IT.
Engineering.
Engineering. Data science.
And Mr. Engineering?
I'm in science.
Okay. Science, then Mr. Chemical. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's the majority of them here are in engineering.
Okay, that's great, you know, and you're right at the right school, MichiganTech. And so I think a lot of times, and I can speak for myself, when you're a student, whether it's undergrad or even when I was a dental student, like I feel like sometimes you get so busy that sometimes you can lose sight of like the fact that your period of time in school is just going to be temporary. And so the question is, what is your plan after you leave MichiganTech? And obviously we all want to find a job, and then, you know, we want to be able to support ourselves and to be able to find a good fit. But besides finding a job, what is it that you're looking for specifically, you know, within the next chapter? And that's, I think, a little bit of a deeper question that I wanted to address as far as looking beyond the gowns, because the gowns we're talking about are graduation gowns. So with that, I wanted to just kind of get a sense of, because I like to keep it interactive. So for those who are engineers, what are some of your aspirations? Like what are your goals after graduating from tech? What would you like to do? If someone were to ask you if you were to be given a job, any job, and you could get it, like that's your dream job and position, it doesn't matter the rank, if you want to be a CEO, you want to be a manager, whatever it is of XYZ company, maybe let's go around and find out like what are people looking to do beyond tech? I think we're muted.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Yeah, for my kids, I think I haven't thought about it much because I still feel like I have like a long way to go. Initially, like when I came here, I was thinking of maybe remaining in academia, but then after some time, I just thought like, well, I want to go into. Okay. Then I thought like, maybe I should be going to the industry. So for the industry, I guess at the moment maybe I'm looking for maybe you start being like an engineer, then you become a chief engineer, but in the process maybe you do an MBA so that maybe you can get to something like that, I guess. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay. Any other person? Yeah. Did you hear?
No, I did not. Whoever is next.
No. Did she ask her?
Yep, I just heard whoever spoke just now. Yeah, I heard it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you have anything, James?
Next, any other person?
Yeah.
Okay, so currently I'm doing a master's in data science. I have another master's in engineering as well. So my passion mostly is not really to get into the normal careers. It's more to get into that. I hope to be a soccer coach one day. So that's like my question. Like that's what I would dream of becoming one day. So that's the direction that I would really like to be a soccer coach.
That's great.
Any other person?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Bester once again. For me, the reason I came here is I had a very specific skill set I wanted to acquire. I work for my country's revenue authority. So I'm a software developer by trade. So my ultimate goal is to start a software company. So working for a revenue authority as a software developer, this allowed me to test my skills. And then I realized there's a lot that I needed to learn. So my country really didn't offer.
Are you afraid?
So
Are you afraid? Mute and unmute. Just this is
big data science, that's big data skill set of the few gaps that I identified. So after this, I intend to, I'm going back to the revenue authority to retest my skills and then see if I'm ready to start that.
Great.
Okay. Well, that would you like to see something? Okay. Yeah, that area. All right. So, started with civil engineering, but I'm now more into computational science and engineering. Since I came to the US, I've kind of shifted more into tech. So I was thinking of looking more into, at one point, starting my own business in systems. But right now, I just want to get the skill sets, get some jobs, or have enough that I can start something. Then I do like teaching, but I don't want to be a professor of the platform. So for now, I just want to finish, get a job, save up, make enough capital, and start to see if I can start something. Mostly in AI.
Mhm. Great. So with that, how many of you all can confidently say, by raising your hand, that whatever you're desiring to do beyond graduation, you feel 100% confidence? Not 99, not 98, not 97 or 70, that you will be able to achieve whatever you have set to achieve. How many of you all feel very confident with that? Okay, is that two people?
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, no judgment. It's just a question. Two people? Yeah. So for those who are maybe not that confident, so, and I don't want to assume anything, but one of the things that, I encountered starting off my career, I knew that I was going to be able to get a job, okay, because I had gone to school, MichiganTech, and then I'd gone through all the school for dental school, worked very, very hard, and became licensed as a dentist. Okay, somebody is going to hire me. But the question is, am I going to be able to be like the dentist that I desire to become? Am I going to be thriving? Am I going to be able to, those are questions that I struggled with. It's like, am I going to be able to put everything together that I learned in school and be the dentist that I'm supposed to be and actually step into that role? And that's the fear part of it. And we all have fear, but the question is, are we going to have that fear then begin to cloud our judgment? So then maybe a job opportunity comes up and then you're like, okay, the career fair comes up at Michigan Tech. Some companies come over and you're like, you know, I really want to apply to these companies, but I don't think my resume is good enough. I need to do another internship. I need to talk to so-and-so. I need to get ready. And you don't apply. One thing I learned, and I learned this from my dad, you all know him, Professor Hungwe, is that, you know, he used to tell me, if you don't apply, you don't get it. Meaning he's right, you will not be considered if you don't even try or if you don't apply. And sometimes that can be disguised a lot of the times when we're saying we have to prepare, we have to do all of these things, you know, and I found that in my life that can be disguised as fear. And so it doesn't mean that the fear, I don't believe that the fear will go away. And I think if you're not feeling necessarily 100% confident that you're going to be able to graduate and get the job that you desire, or, you know, move into the actual career that you decide, I think that's okay. I think we don't always have to know what the next steps of our life is going to be, but we do want to put in a plan. So what is the plan then? And how do we know what steps to take in order to get to where we want to be? I know Michigan Tech is very good at like having the career fair, and then are there currently like networking opportunities? Like if you want to find out from people that are trying to get into potentially the company that you're interested in, are there currently opportunities to network beyond your friends? How many of you all would say that you have some people that you can go to if you have questions about applying for jobs? Okay, are they from tech? Are the people from tech those who you have to that you can talk to about the companies?
Some of them.
Okay. Okay. What would you say are what would you say you would want to see, or what would you say would, if for those who already have networks that you can go to, or maybe those who don't have networks, what would you say is something within your control, not outside? What is something within your control that you could potentially tap into, meaning like something that you could do to get yourself networked if that's something that you desire? Have you all thought about that?
Are you referring to building connections?
Say that again.
Are you referring to building connections, like our capability of connections?
Yeah, just like networking. If you're just trying to find out, like, okay, the jobs, if you're looking, or for those who wanna, after they move on from tech, if you don't currently have that network, what is something that's within your control that you could do? Or is there something that you could do currently where you are right now to be able to get the support that you need? And you may not have that answer right now. That's not really necessarily a question to ask, to answer right now. But the reason why I say that is because what I learned, and I'm going to share this shortly, because during the pandemic, I kind of got into that sense where I was very lost. And I just needed extra support so I could advance in my career. And I just didn't know like what to do. But then I kind of realized that there was a few things within my control that I could do. And so kind of think about that. Sometimes it also means getting out of your comfort zone. So just so you all know, you all see me, I'm a motivational speaker. I do all of this, but I'm an introvert. What that means is, I can speak in front of you all, but naturally when I'm in social circles, I'm reserved. If I don't know people, I'm just reserved. And I've learned over time that that's not necessarily like a bad thing, but I just have to like be more conscientious. So I'm not staying in one bubble. Like, okay, these are my people. I'm just not gonna go to this event. And I don't want to assume that, but I think knowing yourself as well. So what I had to do was I had to expand my circle. And sometimes people, they will not just come to you. Sometimes you have to step out and talk to people and ask for help, different aspects like that. So as far as like positioning yourself beyond the gowns, one thing I want to share, because I think sharing a little bit more about my career, because the question is, how did this dentist who graduated in 2016 suddenly, just came from MichiganTech? Like, how is it that I'm, have my business now, higher mountaintops, and how am I, a CEO, a coach, and all of that aspect? It's like, oh, is it magic? She's just smart. I didn't go to grad school after dental school. So what happened was the pandemic 2020 and 2021 was very difficult. I'm sure you all can relate, right? The pandemic, it was not pleasant, right? Yeah. That was really, really hard. I feel like we can all relate to that. So the pandemic was very, very hard. For me, in 2020, I felt like, okay, this is the isolation of the pandemic. And then I was out of work for a little while. And then transition into a new job. So what happened was I had been practicing in dentistry for since 2017 actively. And then I changed jobs. And I thought, I just need a change of environment. And I did need a change of environment. But I thought that potentially was gonna kind of fulfill the sort of the feeling of stuck that I was feeling. I can't explain it. I was just feeling very lost. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I'm this dentist. Anybody would love to be in my position. And by 2021, and I'm going to be candid with you all because I think it's very important to do that. By 2021, early February, I found myself thinking, okay, maybe it's just the winter because I live in Minnesota. Maybe it's just the winter. I just don't feel right. I just feel very off. And then I had to kind of be real with myself. And then I'm like, I actually feel like sad. I feel sad. And it was a period of like February, March, April, May. And I just felt like I was stuck. I was doing my job day to day thinking, okay, we're just going to go ahead and do our job. I'm seeing my patients, I'm at the height of my career. And then I was thinking, I should be grateful, for what I have. And I was grateful. And I thought maybe it's just the pandemic still. But then I found myself really, really sinking almost into like a very dark space, like almost, it was a depression. And I realized after that, I think it was right around April, that I just had this thought. And I was like, okay, I'm turning 31, this is 2021. And I was thinking in America, it's 65, we'll just say 65 is the retiring age. And I looked up and I said, okay, over the next 3 decades, what am I really supposed to be like? What is it that I want to fulfill with my career? Because that's beyond like, what is my job? But the question is like, what is it that I want for my life? And what is it that I feel that I'm gifted in? Like, it's not really what I went to school for per se, but what is it that I want to do with the next 30 years of my life? I don't know why I have that perspective. And so with that, I was just like, I need to get out of this feeling. I just feel like I don't even have a sense of purpose. I feel very lost. So with that, and like I mentioned to you all, this is not me. You know, sometimes you're just in a situation where things are not working. Maybe they're not working in school. They're not working. You start your job, it's not working. So you have to change it up. If something's not working, you keep doing the same thing over and over again, like you probably need to do something differently. So I just went on Google and I started searching, and I was like, you know, let me just see what's out there, maybe some kind of program, networking or something like that. And then I stumbled on this program, and long story short, I got involved, you know, because I was like, I'm interested maybe in being a speaker, something like that. But I didn't really know if that's really something that I wanted to do per se. I was just like, I feel like I can speak. You know, I did that, you know, most of my life. I speak informally. So I get on the phone, long story short, I end up joining this network, you know, this group, the Maxwell Leadership Team. And as I joined that, I start meeting other people. Long story short, I go on this very long journey where suddenly I'm in this circle, and then I start meeting other people because my intention was, well, let me just get something out of this. Maybe let me get certified as a speaker. Long story short, I start meeting different people, amazing people. And my plan, let me tell you all, if you would have asked me before the pandemic, prior to 2021, if I wanted to run a business and be an entrepreneur, I told myself never. That's just not going to happen. That's too much work. I don't desire to do any of that. It's like, but the thing is, sometimes you don't know. You don't know what's in you, and you don't know. And so by, I would say around the fall of 2021, I ended up networking with a couple of other people, and I joined this boot camp. And it was supposed to be some kind of business boot camp. And I was like, okay, we'll just do this boot camp. Maybe I'll learn a little bit about business. Maybe it can help me. But I didn't think anything of it. And as I signed up, and I was uncomfortable because I was like, I don't know a lot of these people. So I'm just gonna join. Maybe I'll gain something. But after this is over, it's goodbye, bye-bye. And so as I joined, I started to be a little bit more open to the idea that like, okay, like it looks like there's something out there that I was never exposed to, a possibility for me to potentially combine my interest with connecting with people and helping people and my dental background. And so long story short, by like October of last year, oddly enough, this vision came to fruition. And the vision was that over the next 30 years that I would use my voice, and I would use my platform, and I would use my whatever opportunities that I had to impact people. And specifically, it was going to be through speaking, but then also I would step into my role as a coach, and I would help young women, you know, who are starting their career so that they can navigate the workforce as they're entering and just really feel confident in their roles. And not just really transition, but really survive, like more than just survive, because that's what we were doing. A lot of us during the pandemic, let's just get through it. And that's where I had the epiphany. And I said, you know, I think we can thrive. I think we can thrive in our careers, and I think we can attain even our unimaginable potential. And fast forward now, I'm practicing as a dentist, but now I'm transitioning now. I have transitioned as well to giving my time, connecting with others. And I knew, the funny thing is I did that all along. I did that all along when I was at Tech. We would have socials, I joined different groups, even as president of ASO. All of that requires connecting. It requires an ability to work together as a team. All of those skills, I learned those skills at Tech. And I always had the heart to help. And I always had a heart as well for the entire continent of Africa, because that's I'm from Zimbabwe. And so everything kind of came full circle. And so what I thought I was supposed to be doing, which is, the dentistry for the next 30 years, and that's pretty much it. It doesn't take away from that. It just means that I had a plan, but then over time, I opened myself to the possibility of other opportunities. And that's pivoting, pivoting to something a little bit different, but it doesn't take away from that. So, did I have some fears about this? Absolutely. Did I question if this is even the right, thing to do? Yes. But I know now that every time, I meet, even as I'm here today, that if I leave something for somebody, one person, two people, whatever it is, that it will change somebody. And that makes me happy, to do that. And so I just want to encourage you all, as I kind of transitioning here, so that, we can, kind of hear from everybody. I just want to encourage you all that, the next chapter will be coming up. Enjoy your time at Tech. I really had a good time at Tech. But also I want to encourage you, just understand it's a temporary period of time. Also, just be open to whatever comes about. And I will never be that person to tell you after graduation, it's going to be glorious and just everything's going to be perfect. If you hear my story, it's very complicated. I faced many, many obstacles. So it was never going to be easy. If everything was going to be easy, everybody would be at MichiganTech doing what you all are doing. The entire campus, it would just be everybody's going to college, everybody's going to grad school, if it was easy. But those who persevere and those who have a clear vision of what they would like to do, and those who are willing to go after their dreams, and those who are willing to be open-minded to other and new possibilities and potentially greater possibilities beyond their imagination, those are the ones who thrive beyond the gowns. And so that's what I wanted to just share with you all today. And so I think I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Kunle here, and then we'll go from there. We'll do our Q&A.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Kunle. If you want to call me doctor, that's fine, but I'm a colleague of yours. I just came in with this cap. I know this is not how you dress, right? So I came in with this comedy feel, right? So how far, guys? Do we have what's the diversity in the room? I don't know if I say alpha. I don't know if you guys can respond well.
We did.
You did, okay. Okay. Do we have? I would like to see the diversity. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So I'm gonna remove this. I think I'm done with this cap now. I just came with comedy, and I actually chose this background because I'm in California, so it's a nice nice thing to show. Yeah, it feels like I've been out of tech for a while, but seeing you all with jackets makes me ponder. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, a lot of people ask me, how is California? I think Dr. Hungwe recently asked me, how is California? I'm like, yeah, California is good. California is nice, but you have to pay for the weather. So choose a state you go after school, choose it wisely. But if your job brings you here, I'll be very happy to host you. Okay, so what's the question though? I know I joined while Dr. Hungwe was talking. So what was the modality for this discussion? Do I just introduce myself and then you ask questions, or I just go on and do some talking?
Yeah, we'll just do a little bit of introduction, and then we can have the floor and talk to people.
I can hear. Can you say that again?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. So we have Dr. Kunle Olutomilayo. I'm a Ghanaian, so yeah, he's an artificial intelligence research scientist at Ford Motor Company in San Francisco. I hope you're enjoying the warm weather.
Yeah, but we have to pay for it.
But he was an essential math TA in electrical engineering from 2016 to 2019 in MichiganTech, and he was also a postdoctoral scholar at where Ford funded his postdoctoral scholarship in MTU 2021. He has background in statistical signal processing too in MichiganTech, so he's like brains upon brains, and like he has a lot of experience. He's also a proud church member. Hello, glad tidings.
Oh, okay.
So without further ado, I would like to welcome Ms. Dr. He was the president too of ASO at some point. He's a good instrumentalist too, very musically inclined. So he has a lot to share, so I wouldn't take much of the time.
Okay.
Please, you can go.
How many minutes do I have? How many minutes do I have, please? 15, right? Okay. Okay. Huh. Thank you for all those information. I wonder where you saw them all, but that's cool. The only person I can recognize in the room is Kazotu. Kazotu. Yeah, I can also. What about who is that? Ah, okay. Okay. How are you? All right. Okay. And Presido also. I see. Okay. Oh, okay. Vice President. Okay. All right. So, sorry, Dr. Hungwe, I left Michigan later than you, so I still know some of them. All right, that's cool. I share something with Dr. Hungwe. I'm also Dr. Hungwe's son. I'm a senior Dr. Hungwe's son. So I think we are sisters. We are really glad to have Professor Hungwe as our advisor. So it's really nice that we are in this together. Okay, so I was ASO president just before the pandemic hit. We planned everything for African Night, but we couldn't execute it just 1 week ahead. And then the pandemic broke and we couldn't do it. So 2019, I was president. So positioning yourself beyond the gowns in the modern world. I would like to discuss based on from the industry side. I hope that's fine, right? Yeah. We have a lot of us that are now professors in industry, in schools, but I went the industry route. And one thing I will let you know is, so I will also try and put some things in the chat while I talk, if I'm able to. So let me put that out. All right, so life after school, I'm gonna be talking from my experience, right? I would say that I was pretty tired of research. I was so bored at research. How many of you are bored at research right now? Just raise up your hand if you're bored already. Okay. Do we have undergrads in the room? So I know my audience. Okay. So everybody is in grad school, master's or PhD. All right. So by the time I finish, how many of you have seen all these PhD comics where you see the graph of motivation? The motivation goes down in school, and then towards your graduation, motivation goes really up. And then after the defense, if you have corrections to make, motivation goes down again. You're like, well, but let me just give you one more try. And then by the time you finally put it in and submit, motivation almost dies entirely. I don't know about Dr. Hungwe, but by the time I was done with my PhD, postdoc came knocking through Ford still. So I stayed 4 months on campus for the postdoc. I was so tired. I was so bored. Okay. So try and know that depression can set in grad school, of course, but also after graduation. So a lot of people call it post-graduation depression. Because of the transition period into the real world, okay? Well, you are in the real world already, but into the working world. And then when I started working, there was a public holiday. I was working from Hancock. I was living in Hancock. I first lived on campus, Daniel Heights. Then I transitioned to town with my family because it was cheaper, right, in Hancock. So I was working for Ford April last year till December. So we moved to California in December. So while working from Hancock, I was doing remote, right? I wasn't on campus. I mean, when I mean campus, sorry, I mean Ford campus. So I wasn't on site. There was a public holiday that I showed to work. I was working and it was public holiday. How many of you have missed the calendar before working in school? Yeah. So it happened to me when I started working. And then I just discovered that we had a meeting, but nobody showed up. That was when it dawned on me that it was public holiday. So the reason why I tell you that story is that there's tendency for you to work overtime, even when you're not paid, just because of this the stress you're used to in grad school, and you want to put in the same kind of energy you've been putting in grad school to work overtime. After all, you were paid much lesser in school, right? So in school they pay us some few amount, and then by the time you start working, I don't want to tell you how much people can get paid because I wanted to focus on your school, right? so that I don't make you drop out, But by the time you get that money, you're like, am I putting in enough energy? And am I putting in enough to deserve this amount I'm getting? And then I have a very good manager. The manager called me and said, Kunle, I don't want you to call me on this day. It's going to be public holiday. He reminded me, So I'm just trying to let you know the life after school, especially after PhD. If you're doing PhD, you'll be so worn out. And by the time you start getting paid, you think that some of the work you're doing, you don't deserve to be paid that much. Okay. You don't have to work at night if you don't want to. Some of you may have the privilege to structure your time well and all those things, but I don't know about Dr. Hungwe, but it really dawned on me that you have to do little and get paid large, Dr. Hungwe, do you want to say something really quick about that? Maybe your first big cash, getting paid somehow.
You'll be excited, when you do get that first, that first cash.
Yeah.
But yes, I concur with everything that he said. Excitement and then the reality. And I think the biggest takeaway is just make sure you take care of yourself and pace yourself.
Exactly. Mental health. Mental health.
Yes, you can't work like you were working in grad school. This is not, there's no finish line. This is your life now.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing on that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that wasn't, I'm not the only one in the booth. Okay. Another thing I pencil down is that no matter how much you think you know, you may be faced with imposter syndrome. I don't know about you though, but when I finished my PhD, I'm like, wait a minute, is this what I did to deserve a PhD? It's like, maybe I've not done enough, right? And then a lot of people were celebrating that work. We were the first to do radar trailer angle detection sponsored by Ford. At Ford, my name was all over everywhere. Oh, MichiganTech team, they did this, they did that. I'm like, wait a minute. It's not what did I really do? In fact, what I really did, and I spent much time doing, wasn't what I really defended on, right? It was that little effort. So imposter syndrome is a very big deal. Now, especially when you work in a big team. So MichiganTech, right now, most of my team members went to the Ivy League schools, right? In fact, my campus is behind Stanford, almost behind Stanford, MIT everywhere, MichiganTech too. MichiganTech is great. So there's that imposter syndrome, like, wait, what I've done, is it good enough to deserve all these accolades? So please be aware of that. Don't doubt your skills, don't doubt your talents, don't doubt your ability. So when you are applying to positions, apply for the best if you can. Apply everywhere, right? For better probability of getting employed, but don't sell yourself short. Okay. In fact, I also discovered now in the industry that small efforts really count, especially those efforts that turn out to save the company time, to save the company money. Those ones are the ones that really help beyond. I mean, they even help better than you writing big algorithms that never get used. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to ask Dr. Hungwe also, what about imposter syndrome? Do you have anything to say on that? Has it ever happened to you?
I think that that feeling that you mentioned, absolutely. And I think, I've heard more people discuss the imposter syndrome, in the last few years. Maybe it's because the circles that I'm in. Mm-hmm. It's real. And thank you so much for sharing that. That is, it takes courage to share that. Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of the times, and I remember even myself being a student where, even walking into, I didn't feel it so much at tech, but when I started like as a dental student, feeling like, okay, they must have made a mistake. And feeling like, you're going to be found out, and then you face challenges, and for my case, as a student, I really struggled, to pass my dental board exams. And so, I had to take 3 dental board exams. There were 3 types. And I failed them, 7 times total. And so you begin to question, that just adds on top of it. It's like, was this a mistake? Do I even belong here? And I think what happens is that you go from feeling like potentially like, hey, you're really excited starting your career. And then I think when you start looking around, and that's one thing that we would like to emphasize for you all today. When you go into your job, I think it's okay to embrace the fact that there's things that you may not know. And some of that, is just being humble, but then some of that as well is to know what you're capable of, and know that you are capable of much more than you may potentially be giving yourself credit for.
Right.
And that everything that MichiganTech gave you as far as the education is enough for you to be able to stand strong and be able to, ascend as a leader, in your workplace. And a leader isn't just like a manager. A leader is just, you stepping into your position. And so, I think both of us are encouraging you all that when it's not a question of if you feel that feeling. I feel like you will at some point feel something like that. You may not have the words to articulate that, but I would just reinforce to yourself that, it's going to be a process. There may be times where you just feel like you don't know, ask for help, but then also don't let it be an indictment on yourself if you don't know.
Right.
You know enough, and you clearly got your degree at Michigan Tech. And so just always remind yourself you're good enough, you're good enough, you're good enough.
Yeah. In fact, if I'm to add to that, I also write down here, I was spending some things on before this meeting. I'm like, you're working most times for profit organizations, right? They are there to make money. So if you're not good enough, they're not going to employ you because they want to make money, right? So they employ you for a reason, because you were good enough to make them have more money, So, all right. So another thing I would like to mention here is humility phase, just like the Tongu was saying too. When you get on the job first, no matter how much you know, no matter how much you think, PhD and all the rest, there's a humility phase that you have to pass through. There's a learning curve to learn industry skills and tools. So, but it's often short, but don't underestimate how much you will need to learn when you get on the job, okay? But the good thing about it is after a few months, you all be fine, okay? All right, so because of time, I think I was given 15 minutes, right? Let me say this last one here before I turn it over to the moderators. If you're not really good in communication skills, I will encourage you to really improve in your communication skills, oral communication, and on paper also, because you'll be doing a lot of reports. Now, let me tell you, while I was new on the job, I did something. I wrote an algorithm, right? So I just wrote it casually, But we were doing some reports in a team, and everybody was reporting what they've done. I found that some people were talking, they were selling their ideas very big. What they did wasn't even up to what I did, but the way they would sell it is gonna be so mighty, And you're like, wait a minute, what did you do actually? Have you guys ever seen a LinkedIn page where somebody says I'm a plumber and they write like 3 paragraphs to qualify that plumbing job? Something like that, So learn how to sell yourself when you get on the job. It's so competitive sometimes. So I started learning that skill, and believe me sincerely, about 4 months ago, my role was changed. So I was actually employed as a research engineer for ADAS, for trailering applications. After 4 months, I did something like an analysis, and soon after, I was made an AI machine learning research scientist, just because of what I did and how much I was able to sell it. So I'm going to paste something right now in the chat. For those of you that are close to finding jobs and trying to transition into the industry, learn how to sell yourself, your LinkedIn profile, your resume. What I'm putting on the chart says 65 action verbs for your resume and LinkedIn profile. Okay, I just pasted that. So you need to learn how to sell yourself actually, like good communication skills. Oh, let me say this one as a last one, maybe just 2-3 minutes. You need to also learn how to network, okay? Good networking skills. For instance, if anybody is in the room and would like to apply to Ford, I would advise you that you first look at the application site, but don't apply yet, okay? You will send me a note and say, Dr. Olutomilayo, or whatever you call me, I would like to apply for this position. And you know what I would do? I will go check if there's a special link that you can apply for the same job. It's called referral link. So there are some companies, including Ford, they give incentives to staff members who bring in other people that are employed. How many of you are aware of that? Just raise up your hand if you know there's some companies doing that. Okay, cool. So if you, just in case anybody sees a Ford job to apply for, I will encourage you to send it to me. Now, it's not because of the incentive I want to get from you, right? Well, that's cool also, but that's not because of it, right? But you get more attention. If you apply in the normal pool, maybe 1,000 people apply, what's the chances that you get, I mean, you're chosen for an interview? But if you're coming from somebody who's internal and the person recommends you through the referral link, in fact, almost immediately or a few days after, you are likely going to get an interview. And there are so many companies doing that these days. There's so much competition. So what you want to do is, if you have a friend that is in a company that you want to apply for, I mean, you want to apply to, what do? Reach out to the person first and discuss all these things. In fact, if it's not a referral link, the person may be able to advise you. If you're applying to this particular team, try and make sure that you emphasize this skill set, you know, all those things. So don't underestimate how much networking can do for you. We can't stress that enough. I think I've used 15 minutes. Yeah, if anybody here wants to ask a question, if possible. Presido, what was the next thing here?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you very much, sir. Well, Dr. Tsitsi, thank you very much for the time. And I think I gave you just a very short notice, and then you're able to put this together for us. We appreciate the honor done to us about this. And then personally, I will just say, wow, like an ambulance, you know, where because I have been able to pick some things that I am practically to describe on my work. I am good enough. You know, I am good enough. It's very interesting because I think I have that tendency of saying, you think everybody is gonna take you seriously with this you have done? You know, so I want to thank you very much for the time and the talk. So I don't know if anyone has a question before. Anybody? All right. Okay, you have a question.
Okay, good day, Mr. Kunle. So I'm actually directing this question to you. Yeah, so I was fortunately doing my last work. Yeah, so I did my last research project with Ford, and I think I had this privilege of attending this Ford Pathway program. I think it's just for Blacks and yeah, just for African, yeah, the Black African American. So I don't know more insights about the programs. I don't know if I should be sharing this here, maybe something I should discuss with you personally if you have an idea of what, like if there's a more link with the program in getting, like landing a major maybe opportunity with Ford. So it's just called this pathway program to Ford, which is just for Blacks, basically, which was organized for interns by the current interns in Ford for prospective interns, which I got the link to my advisor.
If I get you well, because you were skipping there, you're asking something about internship at Ford, and probably there's a program for them, right?
Is it called the Pathway Program?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ford Pathway Program, something like that.
I'm part of an organization in Ford. We call it Ford African Ancestry Network. We do a lot of things for Black, you know, African ancestors, African and Black people. Yeah.
Something similar to that, just for like
something
African
similar.
Blacks, something like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of the pathway to Ford about.
Okay, what you can do is probably send me, get my number from those people that have it, send me the information. I'll be able to look internally if it's something I can facilitate. If it's not, in the past, I have sent, that was before this current administration. I've sent links to President Alfred, Jasmine in SB, and BSA, Black Students Association. All three associations have been facilitating some link to them for internship, and I will look for the current opportunities right now, and I can share with you all again. And for that particular program you're talking about, send me the link. I may be able to facilitate something or discuss with you further. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Kunle.
Yeah.
Michael. I'm currently studying data science masters. I heard you did electrical engineering, if I'm not wrong, and I had to speak about machine learning.
Okay.
So, like, if I was to apply for an internship at Ford, would I be applying as a machine learning or as a data scientist, or how would I be applying for an internship position?
Yeah, those are very interwoven. Oh, are you still saying something?
Yeah, I was saying, I heard you studied electrical engineering, if I'm not wrong.
That's right. That's right. See, I have a family, and I didn't want to do too much code. I was actually I was actually admitted into computer engineering program, PhD, but I switched because I want something more mathy. I didn't want to code that much so we have a third baby now in California. But with the way the industry is, everybody has to code. Everybody has to go to machine learning. So now I'm a machine learning guy. Not really that much of a guru, but I do more of AI. So that's true. I have electrical engineering background. I will say something that I wasn't even the one that applied for it. They just gave it to me. You know why? Because of my math background. So if you're really good in math, I would say that you can apply for it. We have some people that even have math majors and they're applying for machine learning. Okay, internship. Internship is just to groom you. You don't have to know much about it. They will teach you what you need to know as long as you're ready to work. So I would say, yes, you can apply for internship in machine learning, definitely. But you want to make sure that you like math. Even math majors are applying for machine learning. So there is so much demand that there are not enough people that study machine learning in schools to fill those positions. Does that make sense? Hey, did they break? Doctor, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think they are reconnecting, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. So we had everything you said. The PC we are using, we didn't plug it in, so it went off. So we got everything you said. Thank you so much. So on behalf of everyone at African Student Organization, MichiganTech University, we want to say a very big thank you for you honoring us at this meeting, and then we are very much grateful for the free body of knowledge that you provided us here today. And we hope that when we call again, you surely answer us. So everybody, I would like us to give them a round of applause. All right. Unfortunately, our live stream, okay, it was still on. Okay, so
I think what we just need to do is to round off the meeting and then. So something, Zakaria, you want to announce the NLP? Yeah, so please. Yeah, okay. So thank you. If you want to stay with us to the end, yeah, you're free. Otherwise, we are done now. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, so well, I would like to say something. I was saying something, I was answering the other person's question.
We didn't hear you. We didn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I was answering somebody's question before the network problem. If anybody wants to follow up with me, yeah, you can have my number and I will be able to address any question you may have.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We'll get there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'll put my contact information in the chat if anyone has.
All right, thank you so much. I'll
Thank
get
you.
Bye. Okay, so I think I can be quick. You have a question about the meeting? Okay, please don't go. Somebody has a question.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Please zoom in on it.
My question has to do with imposter syndrome. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, they can.
Okay, yeah, because Dr. Hungwe, you corroborated Dr. Kunle just now about the imposter syndrome. So I'm gonna ask you, what do you think is the best way to handle if, like, you discover that you have a syndrome? What do you think is the best thing to do?
I didn't get the last part of it. What is the best way to handle?
Imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
Like you realize that, oh, I have this syndrome. What would you advise?
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate your follow-up question on that, because the question is then, what do you do about it? Just hope it goes away. Because there's some degree of imposter syndrome that can actually be then an impediment for you to make the right decisions that you're supposed to be making. You may very well maybe back out, as I said, on opportunities. There is sometimes that fear that will paralyze you. And so, yes, I think we should definitely talk about that. So, I'm just going to share from my experience, just a situation that happened with me, because I think that helps. So when I was about to start, dental school in 2016, so, it was just a few days before orientation, and suddenly I just had this tremendous amount of fear that, was actually having me potentially backing out, wanting to go home. Keep in mind, I had already been admitted and I was like about to start, orientation. And so this is something that became very clear because my parents were around, and, I just started getting very emotional and crying. And what triggered that, the last straw, was I was looking at the syllabus just to see what classes were going to be about. And I just felt like it was just going to be a lot. So for me, the first thing that helped was communication, and everybody's going to be different. But I think number one, if you have people, it's very important to have people in your life. It could be a friend, it could be your parent, it could be your sibling, it could be some mentor, hopefully along the way, that when you're in a situation where you are, you're just stuck or you're fearful, especially the imposter syndrome, that you can have a safe space to have that conversation. And so who is that person? So that's something to think about as you move through your life. You don't have to have many, maybe one or two people. For me, at that period of time, it was my parents. So having that conversation that I'm fearful, I didn't say imposter syndrome because I actually had never heard of it at the time. So communication, because when you hide things, and I've learned that a lot of the times when you're dealing with things alone, it just makes you feel more alone and it doesn't help the problem. For me personally, I don't know how many of y'all can relate to that. Like when you just try to deal with something that you're really struggling with, if you just try to navigate on your own, a lot of the times it can be hard to get out of that, right? I'm sure you all can agree with that. Yeah. And so communication. Number two, do you have a source? So for me, my source, beyond myself and the people that I go to, I go to a higher power, and so that's God. And so, that's helped me personally to be able to go to the promises that I believe are upon my life. So if you do have, that source, if that's your faith, encouraging yourself with that. And then number three, I think you have to go back to the reality of looking back. One thing that's helped me in the past is looking back at like, how did I get here? And like celebrating yourself. And like, rather than really focusing on like, I'm fearful, I'm in this new job, I'm fearful, I got admitted into this school. Like, think about like telling yourself, because words have power. I'm telling you all, even if you don't feel it, sometimes you just have to maybe even journal it. If that's hard for you to say out loud, sometimes you just have to be your biggest cheerleader. You may have to just tell yourself verbally, I can do this and I belong here. Because sometimes the people next door or the people you're working with or your classmates or whoever, they're telling you the opposite. And you can't have too many voices around. So sometimes you have to tell yourself, affirm yourself. You could have something, maybe a piece of paper, maybe it's your scripture, maybe it's your encouraging words that you tell yourself, I can do this. And so it's communication, discovering what is your source, and then lastly, affirming yourself. And it may not go away, right? Just like magic, wow, it's gone. It's gonna be there. It stays with you potentially, but then sometimes you're afraid and you do it anyways. You're afraid and you do it anyways, and you discover on the other side that it wasn't that bad. And so I would encourage you to maybe utilize those four tools. Those have helped me. Maybe somebody else has some feedback on that. Maybe Dr. Kunle, I don't know what you think about that, what's helped you, but that's what helped me personally.
For me, I'm just gonna say very short. What helped me is I realized that nobody can beat me. So that's the way I think about it. No matter how small, I know that I know something and I have an expertise in something. So if I mess up, first of all, I'm going to be humble about it. Oh, okay. I didn't know, you have to be humble, right? There's a way to answer questions. As a doctor, every time they ask you a question, you are representing that degree, you don't want to mess up because you're a doctor, right? So you want to give the best answer. So there are some words we say in my own opinion, right? In my own opinion, I think, or based on this, I think this is it. Those are educative words, methods that we use to answer questions, right? So no matter how wrong you are, that's your opinion and all those things. So the takeaway is that no matter what I do, even when I'm afraid, I just go back to that feeling that you cannot come and spank me. You cannot do that. I don't know if it's okay for you to think that way, but for me, I just think that's a way that what works for me. So no matter where I am, I look you in the face and I talk to you directly because I'm an adult, right? There's nothing you can do. So I'm entitled to my own opinion. So give yourself that assurance. I remember during my PhD dissertation defense, I was talking with so much power, so much authority. I was even asking my advisor and some other people to do this for me, share that. And people were like, are you sure you are really the student defending? How many of you were in my dissertation defense? It's like some of you are laughing. Yeah. So I was so authoritative in that meeting that I was on top of my game. That doesn't mean that I'm not fearful or I don't believe that I believe that I know it all. But in this small thing, come on, this is my work. So I believe that will help you to realize that you're an entity. If you're like us also, like Dr. Hungwe said, I'm also religious. Know that you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. If you have another faith, you may have something similar. Say all those words. There's nothing that can make you afraid, And in the end, just know that nobody will spank you, right?
All right, so thank you so much once again. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
All right, so bye-bye. Sorry, we're taking part of our time, but it's working, right?
Hello. So Lesbian has on Sunday.
What is lesbian? Many of us don't know.
National Society of Black People. So even though it was originally meant for only individuals, right now it's open to everyone. And I'll encourage you to join the group, we have this yearly conference where a lot of companies come and we have new proposals for Black people. So there's less competition than the best competition would be the Black person. You get to meet other people as well. There's a best way to link up with people from different universities and actually make friends along the way. So even though lesbian there is not that strong, but on my previous institution, it's mostly white people. But lesbian as an organization is one of the biggest find for African Americans, Latinos, anyone who is not. But it's so big that even white people are part of it. If you're not part of lesbian or access to join, you don't need to come for all the meetings. I guess you want to walk, you want to market, you want to stand up. But there is some of these events that they organize like in a party. Just a week where you get to know the lesbian members from country, get to interact with them, and just free up some of your time. There's a lot of stress and I know it's not enough time. So it's just a party. But we encourage people to prepare something on the rainbow color.